The trade war with America continues, even though it's kind of slowed down. At least the massive amount of anti-American rhetoric has slowed down. It still kind of lingers. And so one must kind of pose the question, what the heck is going on? Where are we? Is there new negotiations? Is there still a massive boycott for America and for American products traveling to America? What is going on? And answer to all of those questions, along with other questions, are all in this video, and we're going to unpack it together. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Canadians are avoiding the US. Will its economy suffer? My answer before even watching this is not really. I don't think there's enough data to really prove. I had this argument the other day with somebody over the phone. I don't think there's enough. Oh, I know who it was. It was my mom. I was arguing with my mom about this. I don't think there's enough data to really show that Canadians are avoiding America because of the trade war and because of the American, because of the Trump administration and Elon Musk. I don't think people are boycotting America in that sense. I think it's our dollar. It's on its way back up. It's almost 72 cents. But again, it's weird. Like I haven't been avoiding America. I don't really know many people that have, and that's not the real, standard, like what I know and experience for what actually is. But let's leave it down in the comments. Have you been avoiding America because of the trade war and the American administration? Here we go.
So there's been a lot of talk from Canadians saying, I don't want to go to the U.S. anymore.
This week we were planning on going, but we decided to make a different decision.
We're boycotting them for sure.
We have to stand up for Canada. They're poking us in the eye, so we got to poke them back.
And there are surveys too.
Oh, here we go. It's just like the polls, right? It's just like the polls are showing. Oh my goodness, the polls are so much in favor of Mark Carney. Only 3 people are going to be voting for Pierre Poilievre, yet he sets historical records with 15,000 plus people at an Alberta rally. Yet 3 random people in grocery store parking lots that are freaking old as crap anyways are saying, no, we're boycotting. So that must be the reality, right? Give me a break.
One where more than 60% of people said they planned to avoid travel to the U.S. this year entirely. But again, lots of people.
That's absolutely insane. Size sample, 1,500 Canadian adults, February 20th to 25th. So that's right when Trump got elected. And that's before this massive catastrophe that we've seen the trade war get to right now. It's not even close. That's February, March, April. We're almost April 20th. That's a month and a half, almost 2 months ago. There you go. I mean, 19 margin of error, 19 out of 20 times they get it right. Sample size, 1,500 Canadian adults. I mean, I could do a sample size on the YouTube channel. It'll get 10,000 votes and it'll show the complete opposite. I just don't believe this at all. It's hard to take it seriously.
Entirely. But again, lots of people say things. It's been harder to know how real this apprehension was until now, because the data is in. The drop is significant, and Americans have noticed in a big way.
It's disingenuous reporting. Our dollar was at like an all-time low in the past 50 years or something like that. 50 years. Our dollar hits an all-time low in the past 50 years. Simultaneously, there's a trade war going on, and the only reporting from the media is people are avoiding America not because of the dollar, but because of the Trump administration. No, that's ridiculous.
Canadian airlines are taking away flights to popular U.S. cities. This after many Canadian vacationers apparently are avoiding the U.S.
It is having not only a negative impact on the tourism market, but business as a whole.
We're seeing pretty seismic developments in terms of the number of people that are willing to go to the U.S. right now.
It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
And here's the thing. More Canadians pour into the U.S. every year than people from any other country in the world. So we wanted to know just how much does this drop actually hurt the U.S.?
Yeah, I haven't canceled anything. I'm going to Hawaii later this year with my family, right? I'm not canceling anything. In fact, it's because of the dollar that people have been not going on trips. Sure, some people have been boycotting, but doing a sample size of 1,500 people, and they're probably picking out very likely liberal people. You can kind of tell. For the most part, you can tell who a liberal voter is just by looking at them, right? For the most part. In a lot of cases. Maybe not the majority, but in a lot of cases you can.
Let's start with the turning point. The moment data started to show something real was happening here. This red line shows how many people traveled by land from Canada to the US between October and February of this year, compared to the orange line, which is last year's travel data. Superimposing the lines like this, you can see how this year's travel numbers have actually been higher than the previous years since October, but then the two lines split apart from each other in February, which was, if you think back, right around the time the US and Canada began phase one.
Our dollar tanking?
The White House confirming tonight that a 25% tariff on Canadian imports will take effect on Tuesday.
Canadians are fully united, coast to coast to coast, to stand up for this extraordinary and beautiful country.
And brand new Canadian data seems to show this sharp downturn in travel actually accelerated in March, with a 32% drop in Canadian return trips from the US by car year over year, which is also
when our dollar was 67 cents. Come on, let's see you talk about that.
So the lowest number of Canadians coming back over the border since 2022, when Canadians really had good reasons to stay home, with COVID testing, vaccine mandates, cross-border quarantine measures still in place.
A lot of people obviously voting with their wallets and saying, you know what, we're going to stay closer to home. We're not going to spend our hard-earned money there while we deal with Trump's tariffs and Trump's 51st state taunts.
And the drop in Canadians booking flights to the U.S. is pretty substantial too. According to the travel agency Flight Center, 40% fewer Canadians booked vacations to American cities in February, and 1 in 5 Canadians actually canceled their trips to the U.S. over the past 3 months.
After I get cancellation emails from my clients, some of whom have been my clients for over 2 decades, I come back to them and like, guys, it's Trump, right? It's politics, it's policy, it's he being mean, and is that why the cancellations are happening? And they're coming back to me. It's 1,000%. 1,000%. It's Trump's policies and politics, and we are sorry.
And airlines are noticing.
So a few examples, I guess, sets the precedent for this is a new reality. This is what liberals do. They use small sample sizes from, I mean, that guy looked like he can't go anywhere near schools anyways. They use small sample sizes from very, very small and isolated incidences, and they say, well, this is a reality for everybody. Never mind the dollar being 6 cents cheaper than where it is today. It's come back up. Our dollar's come back up. But our dollar was like 67 cents. Of course people are going to cancel. Of course. And of course people are going to cancel because of the taunts of 51st state. Of course both are going to happen. But you can't say it's all because of one thing or another. It's just so disingenuous to make this reporting.
Some allocating tens of thousands fewer seats from Canada to the US this April. United Airlines even going so far as to cancel a new daily route between Toronto and LA that it had planned to start up in May. So here's where the problem becomes really real.
What about our dollar?
The US travel was supposed to have been ramping up, right? And as we've been approaching the busiest time of year, the summer months, what happens if this drop keeps dropping? The shock could be big.
They'll be missed. I mean, we're going to feel a big impact in our pocket end of the season if they don't show up this year.
According to the U.S. Travel Association, in 2024, about 20 million Canadians either drove or flew south, and the majority of them to either New York, Florida, Arizona, Texas, or California.
Even local officials in Las Vegas are saying what's going on with Canada right now is a problem for us and growth opportunities for us.
Because just think about it. Every single activity that these Canadian visitors book, every meal they eat, every hotel they stay at, That's money being pumped into the US economy. Last year, Canadians spent over $20 billion US in the United States.
So life in Canada is so expensive that people are not going out as much as they used to. They're not ordering food, right? Now, again, I'm not using my own personal life as the fundamental pillars of what is right and what is wrong, but life is very expensive. Very expensive. In fact, when I go out with my family, we go, not all the time, but most of the time, more than 50% of the time, our family outings is going to the Costco cafeteria, okay? And we get hot dogs and poutine, and sometimes we'll even get pizza. And now this is a mix of, what I'm about to say next is a mix of cost, of being able to save, but it's also a fun family event. Instead of getting our pizza from like Panago or Domino's or even from Costco, what we've been doing lately is, in order to save money but also have fun as a family, is we get the dough balls from Save On Foods for like $2.10. That can make a couple of pizzas, bring it home, buy a few of those ingredients, get the pepperoni, get cheese, shred it at home, okay? And then we make our own pizza as a fun family thing. We do that once a week. So we're still finding ways to try and cut corners and be a little bit more cost effective. That's because of the cost of living in Canada. Now, when you compare our dollar falling to like all-time lows in the past 50 years, our dollar in February and early March was hitting like below 70 cents, 68 cents, 67 cents. It might have even hit 66 cents. I can't fully remember, but it was really, really bad, to the point where buying anything from America was like, ooh, that's a little more expensive than what I'm used to. Still cheaper than here in Canada, but more expensive than what we've been used to paying for American prices. You add that, you include that with the complementary high cost of life in Canada. And of course, people are not going to be saying, well, maybe we shouldn't take that trip. Maybe we should cancel. Maybe we shouldn't take that flight. Maybe we should cancel. Maybe we shouldn't go to, America right now. Sure, some examples are people boycotting. I'm not denying that exists, but our media takes small isolated moments and they exaggerate. We saw this during the blip, where people would get killed in a car accident. They'd go to the morgue and they would be tested for something, and all of a sudden that death wasn't a car crash. It was a medical condition. You know what I'm trying to say. We saw that time and time again. There's so many moments to show that. And how many times does this have to repeat itself? The media, our politicians, are taking things out of context, they're lying to manipulate a narrative. It's so disingenuous. If you need any more proof of the media shaping their own narrative, imagine if a white guy got a gun or broke into Parliament, and who was a Pierre Poilievre supporter or a conservative or a PPC, broke into the East Bloc and barricaded himself. Before the end of the situation was resolved, you would know who that man is, who his family is, where he worked, how he got there, his insurance, social insurance number, his entire portfolio of investments. Everything would have been released to the public. Yet somehow a likely non-white person just recently broke into the East Bloc and barricaded himself to the point where the bomb squad showed up, CBRN. They thought maybe there was chemical, biological, nuclear warfare that was going to take place. The cops showed up with rifles and snipers, and we don't know the person's name. We don't know the person's background, nothing. So that tells me, well, that wasn't a white guy, because if it was, we would have known. So the media has an opportunity to show the objective truth about things, and they don't. They shape things around their narrative. Can this hurt my political opponents? The media shouldn't have any political opponents. It should be the objective truth, especially state-funded like CBC that gets over $1 billion a year. And this is why people are not happy with the media anymore. I'm not objective truths on this channel. I have a bias. Absolutely, I have a bias. I freaking hate the Liberals. I hate the NDP. And of course, I'm trying to share what I believe in, which is conservative values. And I sometimes am critical of the Conservative Party, but for the most part, I'm pretty pro-Pierre. That's been very clear. I've never once claimed to be neutral at all. Most YouTubers in this space are not neutral. They're right-leaning. right? The media is not supposed to be right or left leaning. They're supposed to be, especially state funded, supposed to be neutral, yet they're not. They keep lying and twisting things to fit their narrative. And it's so freaking mentally exhausting. It's really, really exhausting. Maybe I'm the only one who feels this way. Maybe you can share this sentiment, but I'm just so exhausted by this propaganda. And it makes me feel like a loony bin. Am I looking for things that aren't there? Am I overanalyzing? Maybe my bias is so strong that I just disagree with this mainstream media that's supposed to be trusted. But then I get some validation from the community and other people that feel the same way. And it's like, okay, no, I'm right. So I almost gaslight myself sometimes. It's so freaking annoying.
That's twice as much as what Americans spent at McDonald's in 2024, and almost as much as what the entire U.S. gym and fitness industry pulls in each year. And not only does this amount of money help fuel local business, it also creates jobs. The U.S. Travel Association estimates about 140,000 of them. So what happens when some of that money starts to disappear?
To give you an idea, in like actual dollar bills, 2024, my company grossed $35,000 exclusively from Canadian high school kids coming to New York City for their class trip. 2025, 5,000 and going down, because I still get...
Of course that dude is targeting high school kids. Of course. I'm not even surprised.
Cancellations every other week. I hire 15 tour guides and they all work for me as well as other companies. My inability to hire them to do what they love, which is share their passion and their energy and their excitement about the greatest city in the world, it sucks, man. It's really, really rough.
And some American businesses make so much money off Canadians, they've actually built their entire business models around them.
Richard Clavette looks forward to Canadian snowbirds coming to Florida every year.
They create bond here and friendship.
Canadians have filled his motels for the past 35 years, but this year was different.
With Canadians right now, we're about 30%, when we should be more like around 80%. So it's a big drop.
To put this in broader terms, it's estimated about 1 million Canadians, mostly retired, travel to the U.S. every winter. And that group, they're not just staying for days, even weeks. Many of them spend months, if not half the year, south of the border, which creates an expectation from local businesses that they and their money keep coming.
I live here 6 months. This is my home, but I'm leaving April 2nd. I actually feel guilty that I'm here.
If you have approximately 1 million snowbirds going away.
It's all talk. These people, I'm leaving April 2nd. Okay, sure. The amount of celebrities that said they were leaving America if Trump wins and seeking asylum in Canada, we've all seen it. So many, dozens of Hollywood celebrities and some of our favorite movies and TV shows ever since the coup happened. You have all these celebrities, all these actors and athletes became super political. Right? Unnecessarily political. And they were all saying the same thing. I'm leaving Canada, or I'm leaving America if Trump wins, blah, blah, blah. None of them have left. I think Taylor Swift is like the biggest example of that. I'm pretty sure she came out to all her Swifties and said that she's going to leave America on her very fossil fuel, carbon-inducing private jet, and said that she would leave America and seek asylum in Canada. Not a single one of them has followed up on that promise. It's all talk. It's just, they're looking for validation from other people, right?
They're spending money on vacation rentals when they go there. They're also engaging in activities. They're going out to eat. They're doing other things locally. So you're talking in the billions of dollars.
And think about the little guy, the smaller vacation towns close to the border that might feel the financial impact the most. The Adirondacks in New York State. About 130,000 people live there full time. But figure, up to 6 times that many Canadians, 600,000 people, visit every year, both in the summer and in the winter.
We've seen individual families choosing not to come. We've heard of whole hockey teams choosing not to come to some of our international sporting events, and group travel bookings, bus tours.
They're canceling what? College, university, high school level, sporting events because of tariffs and a trade war. Yeah, I don't believe that for a second. Yeah, right. They're canceling stuff because they can't afford it. They can't afford it. The dollar took a tank.
Etc. have also canceled.
This is from a local Adirondack newspaper, referring to a survey suggesting 66% of businesses in the area have already seen a decrease in Canadian bookings for 2025. And their regional tourism office figures with even just a 20% drop in Canadian visitors, businesses in the area would see a decrease of $12 million in spending.
A lot of communities that are really dependent on Canadian tourism are really suffering right now. They're really having a difficult time.
And let's drill down even more, because forget big splashy vacations. Think about Canadians living right along the border who don't necessarily even think about the US as a destination per se, because they're just driving across the border to go to Target or Trader Joe's or to, hit a mall, see a concert, go to a ball game.
You think of Walden Galleria in Buffalo. I mean, you look at the license plates in the parking lot, and there are a lot of Ontario plates there each and every day. They're almost entirely dependent on Canadians and Canadian tourism and day trippers who just go for a few hours and spend their money there.
And do not underestimate the importance of this, because just to give you one example, county executives in that Buffalo, Niagara area say in February, their records show a 7% decrease in sales tax revenue. That, they say, is at least in part because there are fewer Canadians paying sales tax.
Certainly in my hometown of Buffalo, where Canadians come over all the time and they go to our sporting events, they shop in our stores. So sales tax revenues are dropping already.
And that'll affect fire and safety and police force and everything else. Sales taxes in a lot of communities, people don't realize, are paid for by tourism.
And this is worth underlining because tax revenue might actually be the most meaningful way in which a Canadian travel boycott could affect the United States. So think about it this way. Let's say this trend continues and there's something like a 20% drop in the number of Canadian visitors to the US this year. That would work out to something like 4 million people fewer traveling. Economists predict that would cost the US about $4.3 billion in lost revenue. Now, the sales tax rate varies by state. On average, let's call it about 5%. So 5% of 4.3 billion, you divide that number by 20, what you end up with is something like $200 million less in tax revenue.
And when that's gone or it seriously declines, people notice. That's money that's not easily replaced by Americans. A lot of lawmakers are saying the current situation is not good for my state. We need to make some changes. We need to bring the Canadians back. So I think that we are having an impact.
Question is, to what extent, if at all, can the damage be undone? Or does it only get worse from here?
The Government of Canada has updated its travel advice for anyone going to the U.S.
It warns that U.S. Border Patrol has the authority to search phones, laptops, or tablets with no reason.
Our relationship of steadily deepening integration with the United States is over.
Now, if we've learned anything over the past few weeks, it's that what the Trump administration...
Well, so again, disingenuous by the media. They're saying that people are boycotting America. Like, I'm starting to think that I am an American apologist because I have to defend the objective truth so many times, and it just so happens to be sometimes defending some of these statistics and how they're wrong. Okay, the media is saying that Canadians are boycotting. Sure, yes, some people are. Maybe you are. I'm not. I don't really know anyone who is, but that does exist out there. But they're saying the majority of Canadians are boycotting America because of what Trump has done to us, completely negating the fact, very disingenuous reporting, that our own politicians, our own government has put travel advisories out on America, has taken liquor and other products off the shelves and literally used the words, "Stop going to America. Canadians should not be visiting America anymore." So our own government has given instructions to the general public to stop doing these things. So, yeah, of course, you're going to see a natural uptick in that. Not the majority of Canadians are boycotting America because of this, but you're going to see a natural uptick. But the media is not freaking even including that. They just did, but they glazed over it. Oh, yeah, Canadians are boycotting America, the masses. The government is saying don't go to America. But hey, Canadians are on their own because of Trump. And the singular only point that Canadians are boycotting America is because of what Trump did to us. Not because of what we're doing to them. Not because of our government, our politicians saying, hey, stop going, we're going to boycott. It's literally being encouraged, but they're not including that in any of the information, right? My goodness, man. Oh my freaking, and I'm not defending what America's doing to us is wrong. It started off with, because of the Fent and all that stuff and the border. It started off because of that, but then it expanded and it's like, okay, there's ulterior motives. So what's happening to us is wrong and I don't agree with it. But at the same time, the media is being very disingenuous and they're lying about some of these things.
Administration does next cannot be predicted. So ruling out anything as impossible is just foolish. But the trajectory is clear, and there is a cost to alienating allies.
Yeah, there is a cost. And that's why the official White House account on X recently said, don't fight with us or you're gonna be hurt, right? That was just a warning to all countries out there, not just Canada. But hey, that's the video. That's my opinion, folks. I'd love to know what you guys think. Now we're going to take a look at some real world repercussions of this trade war. And I don't like this. This is the part that I don't like because it does have real repercussions to Canada, to Canadian jobs, and it's got the red banner on CTV, which means it's breaking news. So you have, and I don't like this. I don't like this at all. This hurts me. Right? Because I don't want Canadians to lose their jobs over anything. But you have the Ingersoll GM plant is shutting down. 500 layoffs are imminent. This is as of April 11th. Today, as of recording this, there will be a shutdown at the GM Cami assembly plant in Ingersoll, Ontario. I'm assuming that's Southern Ontario, maybe near Windsor or something like that, with hundreds of layoffs to come. According to Unifor, GM has informed Local 88, the union, which represents the workers, that it will. Oh, wow, the typo here on mainstream media. That it will initiate temporary layoffs. The company said the decision to halt production is not related to U.S. tariffs, but rather market demand and high inventory for bright drop vehicles. Okay, well, wow, I hyped that up to think there was real world repercussions because of the tariffs. Turns out it's not even because of the tariffs. It's not even because of the tariffs. But what do our politicians have to say about that? Well, Pierre says, I am incredibly saddened by the layoffs of the GM assembly plant in Ingersoll. This morning, I spoke with Unifor Local 88 plant chairperson and expressed my commitment to protect Canadian auto workers. We will keep them working so they keep their jobs as we fight through this mess. A conservative government will push hard to end. So again, Pierre is taking the wrong stance on this. We're going to push hard to get through these tariffs. Conservatives will be there for auto workers in all of those towns in Southern Ontario. President Trump is betraying America's closest friend by attacking our economy. But Pierre, literally, it says the company said the decision to halt production is not related to U.S. tariffs. I mean, even Pierre is falsely reporting. There you go. I'm going to correct him. This has nothing to do with tariffs, Pierre. There you go. Look at that. That's our, and what does Ford have to say about it? Premier Ford tells CTV that he's spoken to the GM Canada's president, who says that the Cami plant changes are because of low demand, not tariffs.
What I understand from the president of General Motors that I spoke to, it's going to be about 500 employees. It has nothing to do with the tariffs, he said. The volume is not there. People are not purchasing like they thought they would. So they have thousands of vehicles sitting there. We're going to make sure we support the workers and make sure that we get government, especially Canada Post, to pick up some of these vehicles because that's what it's geared for.
So there you go. I mean, again, even our politicians, they pick this up, and there's just such an anti-American rhetoric right now. And it's so frustrating because I'm not trying to be an American apologist. I'm not trying to defend America and what they're doing, but we have to get our facts straight. And the plant literally came out and said, This doesn't have to do with tariffs, but we're closing the plant down. I think it's because they specialize in mostly electric vehicles, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe somebody can fact check me down in the comments, but I believe that's why the plant is closing. And it sucks because 500 families now are without income, right? So EI until they find a new job, but that entire community, poof, just like that, out of those jobs. So that is very unfortunate. Maybe they can convert the plant away from electric or whatever there was a demand, a lack of demand for, because the plant, they just said the plant they're closing it down because there was a lack of demand for whatever they were producing. So maybe they can convert that plant into something that there is a demand for, but again, like our politicians, man, they just jump at these opportunities to try to dunk on America. And it doesn't work the way they want it to, because I see through it, and likely you viewing also see through it. Maybe you're lost and you found this channel or this video, and maybe you're not one of us, but for the most part, I think the majority of the people on this channel can agree that the anti-American stuff, it's just got to stop. It's just got to stop. It's not a good look for Canada, and at some point, it's gonna come back and bite us in the butt. My opinion, folks. That's my opinion. That, ladies and gentlemen, concludes this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, it'd be super awesome for you guys to take the time to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're on route to 500,000 here in Canada, which is super freaking wild. And I will see you all in another video. Bye for now.